Hey, what's up guys, it's TBone here. Welcome back to another episode of playing Legendary Game of Heroes. Today we're going to focus on the Legend Trial boss, and we'll be using the cards from the event Fear of the Dark. We'll examine how much damage it can deal and how effective it will be. For my tests, I used two variations of the deck. The first one uses Cannon from the Lalo deck for gem spawns and heal, Hell for additional power gems, and one of each card from the event except for the ultra rare card. The second team replaces Cannon for Soul Reaper to get an additional 12 power gems to fill a board for increased damage. Before we take a look at the fight, we can also take a look at the damage calculator. I updated recently so that it will now account for mixed deck with Slayer and Commander cards combined in the deck. I also added a bit more flexibility so that it will reflect the damage potential of your team much more accurately. You now can select a multiplier of all the individual cards, so they are no longer assumed to be times 10 or times 13. You can also pick the card type between Slayer or Commander, and then for each card, you can select whether or not it has empowered affinity. There are still some assumptions which I have not corrected yet. Specifically, it does not handle the case where a card does not get a leader bonus. This will be updated in the future iteration. So let's plug in the numbers and update the values accordingly. With my setup, the total number of power gems on the board comes out to about the same as a full board power gem 2. You can see that we don't expect much damage from Cannon and Hell, and only about 9.5 billion from TBone and Aswang. Manang Akal will only deal 8 billion for a total of 27 billion on a full gem match. This is when the commander intensity is at 300. So in the first match, the strategy is pretty straightforward. Use the battle skills of Cannon and Manananggal to keep the dark gem spawning and attack every turn to both take down the armor as well as powering up the commander intensity. Remember, we need to reach 300 and it only goes up by attacking. The goal is to reach intensity 300 as quickly as possible so we can maximize the number of power gem 4s on the board, and Cannon helps with surviving the hits with his passive heal. Using the multi-turn spawn ability also gets around the fact that Rylka will convert all dark gems to light gems every 4 turns. After the gems are converted to light is when the passive skills will kick in, so you will always have dark gems to match. With only one commander relic and 3 commander cards on the team, the commander intensity buildup is actually quite slow. So I decided to activate Aswang's ability at about the halfway mark rather than waiting until it reached 300 so that I could deal a bit more chip damage, and then afterwards, focus on doing quick matches until Aswang's battle skill is ready again. Once we reach the target intensity of 300, activate both Aswang and TBone before activating Hell to get the maximum number of power gems on the board, and then use Cannon's skill to fill up the rest of the board with dark gems. The damage output was really close to the value that we plugged into the calculator, so as expected, we only dealt 29 billion in a single hit, and there's still over 1.2 trillion health remaining. So for the rest of the fight, I basically followed the same pattern, waiting every 6 turns before I can activate Aswang to deal as much damage as I could, but it just wasn't quite enough. And near the end, unfortunately, I mistimed it and I couldn't get the last hit off. But regardless, I was only able to deal 172 billion the first time against Rylka. My second attempt, using a Soul Reaper instead of Cannon, failed really badly. The goal was to use the heal battle skill from Soul Reaper, Hell, and TBone together to provide enough health to last through the fight. Unfortunately, the heal was not sufficient. I was able to get off a shot midway through the fight for a total of 36 billion, which is a bit better than the damage output from the first team, and if I could reach intensity 300, then I would be able to get close to double the amount of damage, which would have worked much better. Unfortunately, health really was an issue. I tried a desperate effort to get some more heal with one last hit for only a few billion, and then was defeated before I could even reach intensity 300. In the end, I gave up trying to use the event deck to take down Rylka. With 1.4 trillion health, I would actually be able to take down Rylka using the first team if I'm able to deal 175 billion damage every 3 keys over 8 attacks. It's just not as efficient, so I'm a bit disappointed in the performance of this deck given that it did well in the event, but just couldn't hold its own in the Legend Trial bosses for me. I ended up switching to another version of the Lalo deck, which I've showcased before, and you can see the link to the episode in the video. However, this isn't a deck that most people would have, so if you're struggling with Rylka, I would actually recommend trying out the Dark Dren team with Mondo Nighthill. They actually had a revival pack for it just yesterday. I also did a video on taking down Rylka using just the support cards and Mondo Nighthill, and if you have 2 copies of Mondo, you'll have a much easier time. Hope that works. Alternatively, using the Dark Gods deck will also work, and again, the video will be available in the link. I will provide it in the description below so you can see how it works. That's all for today's episode. Thanks a lot for watching, and hopefully this helps you make a decision on whether or not to use the event deck to go up against Rylka. I personally couldn't make it work, so if you have alternative ideas using just the support event card and 1 master collection card, I would love to see and hear your ideas. So thanks very much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time.